We're live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the finally rescheduled Blood is Another Word for Hunger discussion. I have my tech issues sort of solved, so progress is being made. I am Chloe of Thistle and Verse, and I'm joined today by, yes, Deidre, Shade Tree Reads. You want to introduce yourself real quick for people who are meeting you for the first time?
Sure. I am Deidre. My channel is Shade Tree Reads, and that's my handle on social media everywhere pretty much. I don't really do much posting on Instagram, so don't even really. You can find me there. You can send me a DM, but like, I'm not really there. But on my channel, mostly I read a little bit of everything. I lean towards fantasy, and romance for the biggest bulk, and then some sci-fi and comics and stuff sprinkled in.
Nice. So for people who, I guess people aren't really here yet, but I guess I'll also throw it in the chat that like we're going to be talking pretty in depth about this story. So we're going to be discussing like plot twists and stuff. We're going to start off with a summary of the story to like make sure we're all oriented. So if you are someone who like doesn't want to know the ins and outs of the story, you might want to read the story, leave and read the story, and then come back at another time. So I'm going to type this in here real quick. We're going to be discussing spoilers and the story very in depth. If you haven't read yet, and that bothers you, please. I'm just going to say a heads up if you haven't read yet. That bothers you.
Yeah, because it's only like 20 pages. You could probably read it today and come back later today. And
Yeah, I like read it real quick before here to refresh because it's been like
it's,
what, like 4 months?
it's been a bit. It's been a while.
I was like on hiatus and then I was just busy. So, oh, Emma Ray's here. Hi, Emma Ray and Montgomery. Thank you guys for joining. If you're wondering why I'm like looking off screen, it's because my computer hates StreamYard, but my phone seems to handle it fine. So I'm filming on my phone, but all my scripts are on my computer. So I'm
And
like
I'm
actually
looking at
control
my
stuff off on the
phone.
side.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to pull up the book real quick. I
So
was,
I can take a whack at the summary and then people in the comments and Deidre can let me know
yeah, you
um
do that because
how we're feeling about that.
I'm
Okay,
bad at
so
summarizing.
it's set during the Civil War in the southern United States. I don't know if we get an exact state, but it's about this young slave girl, Sully, who's like 15, and she's enslaved on this plantation with like, I think it's like they say 5 women and 1 man. And the man had left off to fight in the Civil War and he was killed. So Sully was like, basically, like, I think this is my chance to get out of here. So she poisons the other women on the plantation who owned her, and slits their throats. And it's not really explained, but there's like this supernatural, like, other world who somehow I guess has been paying attention to her, and because like she did this so young, and mostly because she did it and didn't feel anything, they're like, this has disturbed the balance of the universe. Um, we have to restore balance somehow, and it's kind of like not really clear if the other world is like a balanced restorative force, or if it's kind of like a sneaky force. It's kind of like, I don't know, sees a chance and takes it. But basically, because she killed 5 people, 5 more people have to be reborn, and she has to birth them. So the first person she births is a girl about her age, Ziza. And then there's like a bunch of other people. There's 2 sisters who are like older than her. There's a guy who's like middle age, and then there's like a young boy who's younger than her, I think like Nate or something. And Sully's very crotchety. She really only likes Ziza, and even then, they still kind of have like they have a grumpy sunshine thing going. And Sully is like, I don't like this. Like, I don't feel safe, right? Like, we have this little homestead that we've taken for ourselves, but like, we at any time someone from the nearby town could come here and be like, what happened to the people who lived here originally? And they'd be out of luck. So Sully has a plan that basically they're gonna like waylay these like wealthy people traveling through for supplies, kill them, take the supplies, and she's gonna basically birth enough people to have like a small little militia force, and they're gonna go invade the town, take it over, and then they'll be set. And so they do that, and Sully kind of has to stay out of the way because if it's this stuff is really like taking a toll on her body, like it's just like tearing her up. Like she birthed like 31 people in like a few months, like it's pretty wild. Um, and once that's done, she's like, I feel like I'm done. Like I tried to like kill the people who enslaved me, I didn't get closure. Like these people I live with are nice, but like I still don't feel at peace. Um, I think I'm just done. And so she kills herself, cuts out her uterus, because I think her idea was that people could still use it somehow to like birth more people if they needed them. Um, but that doesn't really work because she killed herself, and every time she kills someone, someone comes back. So she basically like is gone for like a minute, and she's back from the dead. And I don't know how to explain it, but kind of ends with Ziza being like, you don't have to be happy all the time. Like I'm happy because that's how I am, but like you can just be you, and we could just like live together with our family and make the best of it. And that's kind of how it ends. Is there anything I forgot or like didn't explain right? Hey Pat, hey Marae. Sorry, oh hey Shay.
Hi. No, it's just I thought that uh it's important to know that she was rebirthed through her own womb that she buried. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think she did. She was only gone from that plane for like a couple minutes, but she was out of it for a while afterwards. Like she she's just like, really?
yeah, she wasn't
So-
happy about it.
no,
She'd
she
been
was
asking
upset and
Ziza
petty.
before, like, oh, what's it like being dead? And Ziza doesn't really like
Yeah,
talking about it. And Sully's like
yeah,
seemed to think it sounded like nicer than being alive. But
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
so like
it's
what
really
were people's quick reactions to this story, like after you first read it, or did you like if you reread it, did your reactions change?
so for me, my so I've read it like 2.5 if you count me skimming this morning. uh, I've read it 2.5 times for clarity and full disclosure. So my very first time reading it, I was kind of like, what is this? And yes, I like it more, and I really was satisfied because Chloe, me and you have read books now in series at this point. Like, me, I'm unsatisfied with an ending. I, you
Yeah,
know, but I was satisfied with this one, even though it was kind of open.
yeah, it was very open.
Yeah,
Um,
I was satisfied with it. But just the premise of it was shocking, and I loved it though. What'd you think?
I remember being really shocked too the first time I read it, like at the depictions of how she like killed people, because I feel like I just
Yeah,
hadn't seen that really before in a story.
right, right.
Typically like a
Yeah,
slave like killing their masters, and then like the killing just keeps going.
yeah.
Um,
Just,
so I think
mhm.
there's an element of shock. It was interesting to like reread it like a year later and be like, it's not really particularly like detailed or graphic. Like a lot of the focus,
No.
it's pretty like pared down and like to the point. It's just kind of like this
Yeah.
happened, and it's really the focus is on her feelings. So I guess
Mhm.
it was interesting to me to just like watch how that reaction changed. Um, and then in terms of the story itself, writing's beautiful. Very confused. I was confused because I was like going back and like paying more attention to stuff, and like I think there's just like random little details scattered in there. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? Um,
Like
like when
what, for
she
example?
first gave birth, I think they said Solomon said that Sully like kind of turned into a wolf because she was like howling and like things are off, so like she
Oh,
grew like a lot of
yeah.
fur for a little
Mhm.
bit. Then like
Mhm.
somehow like seagulls really like Sully, and they were like dropping off food to their little homestead, and I was like, I really did not
Yeah.
pay any attention to this the first time around, and now I'm kind of like, wait, what's going on here? Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think at one
Yeah.
point Ziza calls Sully like her god, and I was like, is that what happened? Like, is she kind of like a god now?
Essentially,
Um,
I mean, is she immortal? How many times can she kill herself and be rebirthed?
yeah, I mean, I guess she has to die of old age, but like,
Oh, because like, yeah, think about because some of those people that she birthed were um dead for different amount of times. Like, I
yeah,
think Ziza had been dead for a few
it
hundred
was like
years.
200 years or
Yeah,
something like
and
that.
the little boy hadn't been dead very long at all, but the older man had been dead for a while too. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's. I mean, I think that's why I felt like the ending was satisfying because it was just so many questions. You just had to lean into it, sort of.
Mm,
But it all made sense. Like nothing was uh so outrageous that I couldn't like make sense of why it was there. It
mhm,
just was like an odd detail
yeah.
on the first or the second time around. I think there was something to do with Ziza like polishing the silverware and stuff like that. It was like, why did we care about this? But
I
yeah, I
yeah,
was into it though at the same time. I was like, yeah, because you want to have nice things.
yeah. I think that it was a story where it just like the emotions, like the emotionals were the focus, and so that just felt like complete by the end. So it was like other stuff's going on, but like it's not super tied to their emotions. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um, hey T Morgan. T says strange, dark, birth of vengeance and hope. There are reactions to the story. Um, trying to think. Anything else to say about my reactions?
Mm.
No, not really.
I don't know if I've
Um,
read anything like it. I've read stuff by Solomon that I felt like I could see the similarities. But
mm,
outside of their body of work, I don't know that I've read something like when someone was so unapologetic about killing their oppressors. Or
yeah, I definitely don't think I have. I think that's why it was so shocking the first time I read it. Like, I
yeah.
think the closest thing I would think of is, I mean, this is still River Solomon and Unkindness of Ghosts. Like, a lot of the Aster's characteristics reminded me a lot of like Sully in terms of how they viewed um the people who oppressed them. For context, An Unkindness of Ghosts is basically a neo-slave narrative set in space where, for some reason, humanity's out there, and it's basically they brought back the antebellum um, South and enslavement period. So all the black people on the ship are slaves, and all the white people may not be like owners, but like they're free. Um, and Aster is a character who is, yeah, very unapologetically like angry about her circumstances. Like she's like, this is not fair. This is BS, and I don't wish the people who enslaved me well, like, and not in the slightest. Um, so yeah, like that's still from River Solomon's body of work.
Yeah, no, I thought that if we're talking about within their body of work, I thought that I forget the name. I'm so bad with names, but the Sorrowland,
Sorrowland?
yeah, whatever that character's name was, I felt like they
Vern?
were slowly, yes, Vern. Um, I felt like they were both very stubborn and like set in like, this is, I don't feel safe, but this is my little piece of it. I'm gonna claim
Mm,
this for mine. And like almost never satisfied in feeling safe because they weren't, to an
yeah.
extent. So
Yeah, like
yeah,
in the story, it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna take this town and then we'll be safe. And then sort of at the end, Sully is like, what? The
yeah,
world isn't safe. Like I just want more and more and more.
yeah.
And what does that mean?
Hmm.
Which kind of ties into the title of Blood is Another Word for Hunger, because blood and hunger come up a lot in this story. And I was wondering what you thought of like the imagery around that.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, Sully was just hungry for more blood, like more vengeance, like more, more, more to claim as like a safe bubble or bubble around themselves or herself. So I thought the title in and of itself is kind of long, but it's like, damn, what is this about? Like, I think that's probably how I even looked up the synopsis on it, or got it for free, because I don't think I had read anything by Rivers at that
Oh, so
point
this was
when
the first thing you'd read by them?
I think
Oh,
so.
wow, that's interesting.
I know I read The Deep
Hmm.
when it was published. So if The Deep came out before this did, then I read The Deep first. But it was one of the first or second things that I ever read by them, and I was like, wow. My socks are kind of rocked.
So the Deep was in 2019, and this
Okay.
was in. Oh, no, this would have come out first. This was July of 2019, and Deep was November of 2019.
Okay, because I pre-ordered The Deep. So I feel like I read Blood is Another Word for Hunger first, and that's why I pre-ordered The Deep. You know what I'm
Oh, that's
saying? I
interesting.
feel like that's how that went. Because I was like, yeah, I've never really read anything like this. I was
Yeah.
coming off my N.K. Jemisin high too. Just like first time having read her was 2019. So yeah, I was hungry, thirsty, whichever whichever term.
He says last week Deidre and Shay wanted more reckonings. Well, here it is.
Man, we wanted this for those people in that novel for
Was
sure.
that When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya
It
McQueen? Is that what you're talking about? Or is
yeah,
that
yeah.
something
It's
else?
I yeah, that's what we're talking about. But
Okay.
I think it yeah, it was horror, so yeah, we wanted more of this in that one. For sure.
Um, let's see, what did I think of Blood and Hunger in this book? Um, it was interesting reading this because I read a book about Black women as vampires, like a literary analysis book a few months ago. And so looking at it now, I'm like looking more at the vampiric elements to her because it's kind of like a recurring thing with Sully's character that like she started out like she was born and like her mom called her I forget what it was, but it was basically um her like ethnic background's version of a vampire. And this thing about her like drinking blood and then her getting some blood in her mouth when she killed the people who owned her and then like spitting it out, like being so disgusted at the thought of like them mixing um is interesting. And I don't really have much to say about it, but it's just like something I'm a connection I'm seeing now. Um because I thought to me that blood and hunger, like that was an interesting connection because to me I don't think of blood and think of think of hunger. But I guess it is more about the reckoning, like the hunger for justice, the hunger for freedom, than like a food hunger.
It's like the I forgot the doggone plant's name, but in Little Shop of Horrors, he's like, feed me, Seymour.
Well,
He
I should
wants
know that. I don't know his
yeah.
name.
What is that? I don't know what the plant. He had a name, I feel like, but
Oh, definitely did. I'm looking at Audrey. Wait, Audrey
yeah, he
too.
called it. Yeah, Audrey too. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, what else is there? Is there anything else to say about blood and hunger? Um, I don't have anything else to say about it. What did you think of Sully as a protagonist? We kind of talked about her a little compared to the other protagonists that Solomon has written.
Just in the whole canon of everything I've read, she's in the top percentile. Like, you know, the talented tenth of MCs as they go. As they go. Like, really, she like I stand a person that is unapologetic about trying to get what they feel like they're due, you know, especially after they've been oppressed and enslaved and just done super dirty. I think she's amazing. And I thought, like, I kind of felt like, damn, well, she could be satisfied with that, but like, she her trajectory of her life was basically stolen from her because she was enslaved. So like, who knows what her life would have been like if that hadn't happened to her. So she is
Mhm.
due whatever she feels like she's due, and so I like her as a protagonist. What do you think?
I was interested in that. I feel like she's not a character who talks a whole lot, I feel like.
No,
Um,
no.
like I feel like there's a lot of like sounds in the beginning of the story, but like she doesn't really speak until like kind of late in. Um, yeah, like I remember I counted the paragraphs and like she doesn't speak until she's like starting to give birth and she's just like help.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
which was I don't know, interesting. I guess to me, because I'm someone who like it's weird. Like if I'm with another person, like I'm very fine just like sitting in silence and not saying anything. But if I'm like by myself, I'm like always making noise. Like I'm like singing or talking to myself or something. So it was like interesting that
yeah.
she's just like so quiet.
She had a very like loud internal voice though. She was talking to herself, just not out loud. Like she had thoughts
Yeah.
going through her head, but she just did not say much at all. Even when people were around or Ziza, um, she only talked around Ziza. I feel like, and was annoyed when people would try to make her talk.
Yeah.
Another, it was funny. Yeah.
Uh, what else about Sully is there? What do you think of her relationship with Ziza?
You know, I guess it felt like sort of because Ziza was like a very upbeat and sunny side up and like glass half full person, and her firstborn. So I think the combination of that um really helped Sully because I think it could have gone. What if her firstborn had have been somebody just like her?
Mm,
Like
yeah.
they just been constantly murdering each other and being reborn and like I feel
Yeah.
like that would have been more like the dynamic. So I like I think Ziza was good for her because I think the alternative would have been like what I just said. So like yeah, I liked her their relationship, and because Ziza really did try to like understand her for who she was and like, no, you don't need to be out here picking flowers with me, but if you want to just come and lay in the grass while I pick flowers, that'd be kind of okay. So, I liked it.
Did you think that theirs was more of like a friendship, or like did you think there might have been something romantic, or do you think it was just like it didn't really even matter because it was like they had known each other for such a short amount of time?
I felt like there was like um a little of both. Like I felt like
Mm,
it was a friendship that maybe kind of goes back and forth between being romantic because Caesar just felt like a romantic type of person.
mm,
Um, and I don't know that Sully is capable of a romantic love by the time we finish with her in the story. So
mm,
I think it kind of went back and forth, like maybe some um like what is this butterfly in my stomach type feeling, but and that was romance, but she didn't know it. Like Sully would
mm.
have no idea what that is. And probably would kill anybody to try to explain it to her.
She said Sully was done, no F's to give.
Right.
Sully was over it.
She would.
Um, yeah, I was interested in their relationship, like, because it
Mhm.
was like so candid, which was interesting because like they don't really know each other. Like Ziza just made herself at home really quickly.
She did. She did.
Um, I guess she just
Yeah.
was so happy to be alive that she kind of just like right away, like she didn't really seem to like question. Well, I guess that was. she was, I guess part of why she came was because she wanted to, right? Like she said, like, oh, I
Yeah.
noticed there's this like rift and I miss
Yeah.
being alive. And so I came
Mhm.
back here. So I guess it kind of makes sense that I guess it wasn't like it didn't catch her off guard and she just kind of like hopped right into it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it
Aren't
was
they
like an
born
interesting.
fully grown, or they grow up to whatever their fully size is within a few hours
I
of
thought
birth
so
or
because I thought
something?
like Ziza was like, oh, I'm causing her pain. I kind of need to shrink. So she shrunk down to like baby size. And then she
Okay.
like, once she was born, she like grew back to her full height.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
T says, I thought it felt romantic and that felt weird to me because she was the firstborn. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of funky too, because like that's also like a mother-daughter thing, kind of.
Mhm. Sort of.
Um, yeah, but also it felt like Ziza kind of did some of the parenting
Mhm. To
for
Sully.
Sully.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so
To
it's just like
everybody,
really
all the
layered. I felt like it
kids.
was really hard to untangle what was happening when I was reading it.
Yeah. Ziza felt like the mother of all the kids, all the
Hmm.
people of the house. She, ordered people to do what, she made the plans and gave people their part. So yeah, it definitely felt just weird, and like the way that, I don't know. I feel like it was love, but
Mm,
in a weird, whether it's romantic or friendship or just familial love, I'm not sure. Maybe
yeah,
all of the above.
yeah. Because I remember I first read it, I was like really, I think, fixated on that and trying to define it, and then I think when I reread it, I was kind of more like, does it matter? Like, I guess at this point
Yeah.
in time, like it seems like that's just Sully kind of needs someone who, I guess can be like a soft place for her and can like listen to her and like I guess just like be with her. She's feeling stuff, and that's I guess more of the
Hmm.
focus on what it is the relationship is.
Yeah.
She said also felt a little Jesus vibes. Oh right, 'cause she did I guess rise again.
Yeah.
She was buried for a
I can
little
see
bit.
that. Hmm. True.
What did you think of the whole like birthing thing? Like that the person didn't just like kind of pop out like Sully has to actually give birth to them.
I mean, I think it's blood for blood, in that, if you kill somebody, you're shedding blood, and if you actually give birth instead of they sort of just come into existence, it's blood for blood. So I felt
Mm.
like that was, I don't know what else I would have accepted. I don't know.
Mm.
Cause like we even meet Ziza before she's reborn, right? Or is it a retelling, or are they like remembering the story or something like that?
I don't quite remember, but I thought that like Ziza they do kind of mention that Ziza like notices something's up and that's why she comes and
Yeah.
visits Sully. Like they say like, oh, like, she kind of made these choices to try to make things a little easier, but like we do get a little bit
Yeah.
of her perspective.
Either I feel like, yeah, or we get all the through a conversation with Ziza, we find out about the other, like, the new kids' past lives.
Mm.
I keep calling them kids, but there's like an old man, and it's one of them. But
Yeah, it's really only
but
who's it,
really, like,
Mac or Nate?
yeah,
He's a little
he's
boy.
literally, yeah, she's literally giving birth to them though. So it's kind of
Yeah.
hard not to this crotch fruit. Let me just say that crotch fruit.
Mm.
um, no, never mind, never mind. No, but yeah, it feels right. I don't
Mm.
know that they're coming, and she has to hurt a little bit because she doesn't feel any pain for the murders or any kind of remorse. So
Yeah.
she has to feel something. So I don't know. What do you think?
I thought it was interesting because I was like, is she like a portal of some sort? Like, is this birthing thing not really even about Sully? It's about like these people who probably were like robbed of a chance at life. Like Ziza said, like I died in an outhouse and I probably got a horrendous burial. Like is it about more about is Sully just kind of like a way to like bring things about for them? Um, is it like some sort of punishment like that they're talking about like this balancing thing, like Sully did this so young and she doesn't care. Is it like a punishment? Is it like a gift that she's a conduit for this power? Um, I didn't really know what to make of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the idea that she was it was a punishment is interesting.
I feel like that.
Punishment for her
Hmm,
or for the people that come back. Did anybody not want to be back? I don't think so. I think
I don't think anyone didn't want to be back.
everybody was cool with being back.
Yeah.
So, and is it for the gods to feel like they are maintaining balance?
Yeah, I was really interested about the gods because we kind of like get the idea there's this bigger sentient thing kind of early on, but like we don't really hear from them ever again. Like they don't
No.
really make an appearance after that.
Yeah.
Um, because to me, if it was like a punishment for Sully, that would seem kind of odd. Like it doesn't feel like it fits with like, her this being her emotional journey. Um,
I think her not being able to kill herself is the punishment that she
oh
can't
really?
die, that she has to figure out a way to be okay with the world that she's making.
Hmm.
Because if she continues to kill people, she'll continue to give birth, and she doesn't like people, so you got to figure it out. Like, and
That's true.
she feels a
Um,
little bit of responsibility for the people that she gives birth to. Maybe not as much as most mothers would, but like she feels a little bit of like, what are we gonna do
yeah.
for
Yeah, like,
them?
was it she was trying to be a big sister to the little boy, like, she's like, "Oh, go wash your face," or something. She's like, "I guess that's what big sisters do," right?
Yeah, right,
He doesn't
right, yeah,
really know.
yeah.
Um, no, but I think the blood for blood thing is interesting because I just remember reading the parts about her giving birth and, like, how much it hurt, like, that was, I think, like, the most pain that she just talks about feeling, like, that was, to me, like, the more graphic parts of the story was her how she felt when she was giving birth and, like, I mean, she gave birth to, what, like, 31 people in a couple of months. It was, like,
Mhm.
her just being like, "It feels my crotch feels like it's broken, like, it just hurts, like a
Yeah,
broken
yeah.
bone."
Hmm.
Um, I was like, "Is this some sort of punishment?" But I guess also, I guess if it's, like, even just thinking about, like, a balance thing, like, if she has the ability to bring people back, I guess there has to be some incentive not to use it willy-nilly, I guess.
Yeah,
There has to be
yeah,
something stopping people from just slipping back alive.
yeah. Like she can't kill herself to escape it that we
That was
know
really
of.
interesting what you brought up 'cause I hadn't even considered the fact that, like, she can't, I guess, just, like,
Yeah,
no out of it.
yeah.
Um,
So, mm,
what do you think about birth here compared to, like, birth in the deep? 'Cause it wasn't something
ooh.
I'd really thought of, I guess.
Um, I hadn't thought of that, but like, so to just off the top, I only remember birth in the beginning of the story of the deep, where the species were sort of created.
Mhm,
So, in that sense, it's the same sort of thing because these people have already lived once. And so
mhm,
this is a new species. Are they able to procreate amongst themselves? And then what is that? Like, what is that? Are they siblings? Like, what is that? Like, and it's sort of born out of oppression again. It's the same
mhm,
sort of situation. Like the people in the deep are being taken on the middle passage and thrown overboard and birthing a new species to survive. And in this is in the middle of the Civil War to end slavery, and she's no longer wanting to be oppressed, and she ends up, whether she wants to or likes it or not, birthing a new species. Oh yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that before just now. Huh.
yeah, 'cause I was like I remember the I think there's like descriptions of like the womb in both the books, like how like being in the womb is kind of calm with all the fluid and stuff. And like in
Yeah,
the deep, I felt like birth was more like I mean, it was obviously sad. Like it was a both of them, it's like a transformation, right? It's like some
yeah,
disrupting of the world. And
mhm,
in the deep, it felt like it was like sad thing because like the mothers don't make it.
right,
It's born out of the slave trade. But there's like it's kind of like making a magic out of the sadness, and that like there are now these fantastical creatures. Um, and in this one, I guess it is like a happy thing for the people who want to be alive again, but for Sully, I guess, yeah, it feels like more pain for Sully. To me, it just felt very different, and I was wondering, I guess, why that was.
yeah. I mean, because it's we don't know the Sully. She doesn't really not like. She doesn't. I don't remember her ever saying she doesn't like this curse that she's or blessing. I don't
Yeah, I don't
remember
think
ever
she's ever like, "Why
calling it.
me?" You know? I think
Yeah, I
she's
don't.
always immediately like, "This is an or maybe not immediately, but it's like, "This is an opportunity, like, this is we could
Yeah,
do something with this."
yeah. So she doesn't necessarily view it as a punishment, but I don't think that she would think anything is a punishment. You know what I'm saying? Like she's
Mm,
not a slave anymore. She's killed those people. I only think I guess trying to enslave her again would be the only real punishment for her.
mm,
I guess because I don't know. It's interesting that you brought that question because I might would have reread the deep to remember what they say in that one because I only remember like I said the beginning when and then the in the well for a bit. So yeah, that's really interesting.
he
Both from
says in terms of the birthing mechanism, there is no life without pain.
yeah,
Which is like, I guess, I don't know, I'm interested 'cause I'm someone who likes the idea of like magic has a price.
yeah.
Um, and I recently did a cover reveal for Off Time Jive by AZ Louise, which is a novella coming out in July this year, where the premise is that like, what if the price is finding joy? So I'm kind of like, I guess I'm kind of questioning like, why do I feel like things have to come with a price? You know?
Why does it have to be a negative price?
Yeah, I guess. So to me, that just felt
Interesting.
right that like, oh, you want this really nice thing. Obviously, you gotta do something horrendous or feel something
Gotta
horrendous to
lose
get it. So
something.
to me, it just makes sense. And like, I just like the dramatic stakes of it. Now I'm kind of
Is
like,
that because we're in a
hmm,
capitalist society?
hmm, I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I haven't thought about it
It
that
might be.
deeply.
Yeah, right? I'm just
um,
thinking like maybe because why does it have to be negative? It could be joy, like you
yeah.
said. Yeah, that's interesting.
T said, first births in the deep are also born in depth and death, and that's kind of what something that links them as well.
Mhm.
Um, what have you read? Hmm, I don't know. I'm just thinking about and This Is How to Stay Alive by Shingai and Jerry Kigunda, where there's a little bit about like time and the idea of like Sankofa and like time kind of going backwards, not necessarily being like a line straight forward.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, and I guess ancestors being alive again and wondering also like what that means from I guess a philosophy of time perspective. Um, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if I have anything to say on it. I just thought of it.
Yeah.
um, I think we talked a lot about the birth. What did you
Mm.
think of like Sully and Ziza's plan? Like who came up with it first? Because in my head it was Sully, but you point out that Ziza's kind of the one who's like heading the family that's formed. So she's also kind of more proactive and like taking care of the house and stuff like that.
Sully, I feel like Sully said, "We this is what we need," or she said, "This is the problem. The town is there, and if they can come and take it."
Hmm.
And Caesar was like, let me go pick some flowers. And she came back and she was like, okay, this is what I need. This is what I need. I feel like that's how it happened, but I didn't remember. I didn't read that. I only read like the last few pages to remember the ending this morning. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel I like the plan because,
Mhm.
you know, we know white people won't leave us alone. And there's probably at least one person in town that's gonna wonder, maybe a merchant is gonna wonder where so and so, Mr. So and
Yeah.
so's order this month.
Yeah, I mean, some might even want the land if they're like, no one's using it. Like maybe I can like swipe it for
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, and that's gonna cause a problem because then they come looking and he's dead, and then it's like. So I thought the plan made sense instead of trying to. I mean, the alternate plan was to move. But they already had the house. They already had that
Yeah,
land.
I
They
mean,
didn't
also
need
like what were like the
or
actual
like,
logistics of moving, right? Because like
yeah,
the Civil
no,
War is still going on, so like there were
yeah,
fugitive slave laws, right? Like they could go up north and they could be
yeah,
waylaid on the way there. They could have
yeah,
just been sold again. Like there
yeah,
wasn't a guarantee.
yeah. That I think the alternative just wasn't sure enough that just to go and let's just build this army and take them out, and then from there on we ought to be able to defend our land here, because it'll be a while before people come back looking.
That's true. I guess also with the unrest of the Civil War, like
Yeah,
there are bigger problems than what they're dealing with.
yeah, yeah. As long as they took the nearest town out, they were straight.
It was
Yeah.
like I think it was for me, I was kind of like this plan feels unsatisfying, but also it's like what there is no, there is they just can't like, right? Like it's the
Yeah.
Civil War in the United States. Like there's
Mhm.
no guaranteed way that they're all going to be set and safe. Like this was kind of like the best that they could do realistically. Because
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like other stories about like hidden communities of freed people like in fantasy and stuff. And like it was either like hiding out in the woods, like in like
Mhm.
stuff by like Virginia Hamilton, like Magical Adventures of Pretty Pearl, or like The Conductors. It's kind of like you're gonna hide out like in the woods, like no one can see you, like that type of stuff. I'm thinking like Wild Tea by Octavia Butler, where it's kind of like they had to put on a farce that it was still a plantation. Like they had was it
Mhm.
Anyanwu out there pretending to be a white person who owned the place,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I cannot see even just pretending for Sully. I can't imagine her wanting to do that.
Yeah. I haven't read anything outside of like I'm thinking of Wings of Ebony. I forgot the name of those people, but they were like hidden
I'm blanking on it too.
off in the
So
mountains.
yeah.
There was the cult on that land in Sorrow Land. There was um I mean, anytime you think of a cult, usually or usually they separate themselves and try to go off into some unbeaten path. You
Mhm.
know, not even a cult, but just like groups that are trying to like not be seen. I
Yeah.
haven't, I haven't think, of, I can't think of anything else. Like it's conquer people around me until people stop trying.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm thinking of or just but it's all of these stories that I'm naming is the plan. I mean the options were we go into hiding or we probably die trying to move our people to safety.
Mhm.
So even I'm even thinking of not black stories in I guess you would call them the antagonists in the Dandelion Dynasty, which is by Ken Liu. The first book is
Is
The
this in
Grace
the
of
first
Kings.
book?
Yeah. So like that those people that came, no, actually, yeah, those
Were
people
they
that
people like
came,
the narwhals or whatever who were out on the
yeah,
islands? Okay.
Yeah. Those people, so they it was either they finished, there's no more land to fight over, so it's either go and get some more land or die trying.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't, I haven't read, again, this is a story that, like, nothing I really have read
Yeah,
since.
has been like this, like
Yeah.
choosing violence and like there's not really much mourning of the people that they kill. Like,
Yeah,
or the
no.
people super involved, have they done anything wrong with them personally? No, but they're like,
No.
this is the plan. Like,
That's what we gotta do.
that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, I was thinking of something, and then I just lost it. Um, I feel like also just like from a thematic point, it was about like claiming the space, like we're not gonna run and hide, like this is our land and like this is
Hmm.
like our family and we're not going anywhere. Um,
Yeah, because the other people besides Sully, the other slaves that didn't make it through the war, they fought for that, and it's very much as much as theirs as it was the people that were reborn through Sully, in my
yeah.
opinion. So
He said, I like that there's a plan, so often there's no thought of what's next. And
yeah,
then also even in the deep they are in hiding.
yeah.
Which is pretty true.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if I have anything else to say about that. I think we talked a little bit about the ending. Is there anything else you want to like talk about it, or do you think we kind of hash it all? I'm really intrigued by the idea that like I don't know, her being forced to stay alive, like she can't kill herself. Like she's gonna have to, I guess, live out the natural course of her life unless she befalls an accident or dies of old age. For Sully.
Yeah, I think so. Those two options, and then maybe a third option would be to figure out another way to put a wrinkle in the universe to put shit back right. I don't know. Like, because she she has no remorse when she kills. And I
Mhm,
think that that's the only way to make her feel something, is to have her birthing be painful and take something from her.
mhm,
Whether that be just like a little piece of her sympathy or empathy,
mhm,
or a literal piece of her, with
mhm.
blood.
I wonder what she felt about the killing. 'Cause I remember there's like a brief line, like when they're executing the plan,
Mhm.
to like kill, like I think they wanted 26 people specifically,
Mhm.
and she said that like the birthing was hard, and then there's like kind of like a brief line where she's like the killing was hard too, but like we don't really get into like what that means. Like it wasn't like just physically taking a toll on her, like being in such bad shape and then having to do this, or like was there some emotional like impact going on with her? Um, we don't really know because it's so quick.
Yeah. I think that's just the extent of her emotional impact, like in that moment, like right then. Okay, what's next? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we count the hunger for more as an emotion?
Hmm. I don't know because I feel like it was like a reaction, almost like her thinking that like things would bring her closure and realizing that there weren't really external things that were gonna give her closure. Like she kind of had to like make it for herself, like
Yeah,
on her
yeah.
own.
That's interesting.
But I don't know.
Mhm.
I guess what did you think about Sully being like the only slave still on this plantation? Because they mentioned that she had a mother who had been sold away a long time ago. And they don't really
Mhm.
say why she's like the only one still there on this place with like 5 people, all
I
5
just
people.
assumed that the family had made bad choices, or maybe their crop didn't come in one year, so they were
Mm,
poor at that point. They really only had the house to their name. And she was young enough, or born into slavery, to where she didn't know anything else. So they're like, I'll just keep her That's just, I mean, I didn't think about that in the moment
Hmm.
of reading it, but when you just asked that question, I just felt like they were poor because what, you don't have a plantation and not have, a whole bunch of slaves if
Yeah.
you don't, if you're not broke. I mean, you're
Yeah.
selling them off. You have all the equipment, you have the barn, you have the land. So yeah, you made poor choices.
Yeah. It's come back to us. She says, I felt sorry for her because she's so tired and there was no relief.
Yeah, she didn't
Um,
age, did she? But I know this doesn't take place over a very long period of time,
yeah, I
does
feel like it
it?
was probably less than a year, if I had to
Yeah,
guess. Because they like, I thought the whole plan started because they were running out of supplies. Like
yeah.
I thought she said they gave birth over the five people over like a few months, and then supplies went pretty quick, so they had to like get moving.
I wonder how she ages then. You would think that would take a big toll on her, and she like come out with gray hairs every time she had another
Another
birth
kid, yeah,
happen. But we didn't really we didn't really talk about much of the toll on her physical body, other
yeah,
than in the moment of the birthing.
yeah. Also, she's like pretty young. She's like 15.
Yeah, yeah.
Random question. What do you think about like ownership in this story? So it's something that I noticed on reread. Um, I guess talking about, the person. I have to find the quote because there's an interesting quote in there where they're talking about like, do we actually own this land?
Oh yeah.
Let me see if I can find it.
Because she didn't have the paperwork. The paperwork still showed it in the owner, the white man's name, right?
Yeah,
Did they get that? Did they ever get the paper straightened out before they went and wiped out the town?
I don't
I
think
don't think
so.
so. That was part of the reason why they needed to wipe out the
I
town
thought
because,
so, yeah, because they're like,
yeah,
we can't even like fake that we own this
yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting because I don't know if ownership is the right word or what I'm about to say, but like I felt like Sully felt like she owed most people something, the ones that she
Hmm.
gave birth to. So, like, I don't think she would have ever tried to keep anybody on the land if they wanted to leave. I don't think, like,
Yeah.
any of the people she gave birth to. But I do think she felt some type of responsibility for them if they
Hmm.
were going to be there.
So in
I don't know.
terms
That's
of the
interesting.
land,
Hmm.
Sully says it's not like I got papers saying it's mine. Sully said, and everybody knew papers were everything. Did you not kill the folks who had the papers? Therefore, could you not change the papers? Is an owner anything but he who kills for the papers? Asked Caesar.
Hmm.
So this is, I guess, no, this was when this was kind of like in the interim period before the other four people showed up.
Okay.
And then there was something I remember when they're talking about the land itself, where they were like, the whoever had owned it wasn't particularly good at farming. Like they're like,
Oh, because that person didn't listen to the people on the land, right?
yeah,
I
like
feel
they didn't
like,
rotate crops or anything. They're like the
yeah,
soil's all jacked up.
yeah,
Um, they're like they just kind of bled it dry. Was I think how they put
yeah,
it. Like all they knew how to do was like bleed something for profit.
yeah.
So I guess what did you
That's why
think
they
of?
didn't have any more. Yeah.
Yeah, what did you think of? I guess blood in that way. So it's kind of I guess a little bit of a change from how we'd seen blood earlier in the story.
Yeah. Um. I mean, I hadn't really thought of it in terms of the land.
Hmm.
Prior to you just asking that, it's interesting because you do have to nourish land in order to get something out of it, and you can't just keep taking from it in terms of planning on it and not giving it a rest, giving it a break, letting it let nature's run its course on it, so that yeah, that is bleeding it dry,
Hmm.
almost quite literally. Because if you don't sew back into it, you won't be able to produce anything, and that's the whole point of a plantation. So I guess,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess I just been thinking of the title like solely in terms of Sully and like her hunger for things, and then now
hmm
I'm kind of like, oh, there's also like this other hunger too, like this hunger to own land and dominate, this hunger to own people and like work them to death because you feel like that's your right. Um,
Wasn't the other reason why she needed more people was to take to grow stuff though, to like physically take care of, like
I
cultivate the
don't
land?
remember honestly,
Okay.
because
Was it only to take over the town?
I thought it was mostly to take over the towns. I thought they had at least a few adults who could like work and provide, but I thought they'd been trying to like lay low and just like stick to the stores and like the food that they already had on hand, so they weren't trying to draw attention to themselves. That's how I
Right.
read it.
Right. I think they ran out of money. Didn't they, or they robbed that one wagon that came through kind of in the
Yeah, I remember they were
beginning.
robbing a couple wagons.
Yeah. And there was like, this not sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Um, I guess I was gonna ask if you were surprised that like the 26 people that she birthed next, like just kind of like went along with the plan. But I guess the people who show up kind of self-select, right? Like Ziza showed up because she wanted to be alive again. Like,
Yeah.
I guess it's not really surprising. Like, I guess the people who
Was
would
it,
have wanted to be alive bad enough were the ones who came back.
I don't know if surprising, but like if you think about it, it's kind of weird that they just went with it. Like they didn't question it. They just sort of, but like you
Yeah,
said, they self-selected. Like the call went out into the universe for this special birth, the special situation or whatever. Uh, so they, if you didn't want to answer, you didn't answer.
yeah. So I was kind of
Yeah.
wondering if some of them might be like, oh, I really want to be alive again. Like, I don't know if I want to risk it.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
had
also they
seen
don't have a choice
fans.
but to risk it if they want to
Yeah, because they
stick
were all
around.
black, right? There was no.
Yeah, I think they were all
Yeah.
black.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but like, I don't know if we're so right, but if you think about it, like, if they didn't self-select to come back, it would be very weird that
Yeah,
they
it would be
didn't
very
question.
different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Sully and Ziza could have talked people into taking up arms with them if people didn't self-select, especially
Right.
because of the age thing. 'Cause they're both so young.
Right. In appearance, yeah. But Sully's young, um, chronologically, but Ziza looks like in her 20s or something like
Oh,
that.
I didn't realize she was that old. For some reason, I thought Ziza was the
I'm
same age as
guessing. I don't
Sully.
remember how they described her physically.
I don't
Like,
either,
I
honestly.
don't remember how they described her. So
I
yeah,
I mean, you did what was it? You did the 100,000 Kingdom ring along with me, right?
yeah,
I
uh-huh,
talk about how like people kind of get assigned random characters in my head, and like it's not based on
yeah,
what the book. In my head,
yeah.
Ziza looked like Cindy from Rugrats. I have no idea why, so I just assumed she was like really young.
I put in my head she made me think of
Oh, sorry, not
um
Cindy. Oh, that's not the doll. The little black girl from Rugrats, whose name I don't remember.
I know you meant Susie
Susie. Susie
Carmichael.
Carmichael, right?
Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. So
Yes, Susie Carmichael. I meant
that's
Susie
what I heard
Carmichael.
anyway. That's what I heard. I knew that's what you meant. I'm thinking of the main character Cyanide from the fifth season. In my
Yeah.
head, that's who I can't say it now. Ziza looks
Ziza?
like
I assumed it was
Ziza.
Ziza.
That's who Ziza looks like in my head
Oh,
for
that's
whatever
interesting.
reason. Or the main character from the Unkindness of Ghosts, that age, somewhere in there. I don't know why,
Mm,
but that's where my brain went. Like of age to have been through stuff when they were first alive and to have some experience and wisdom.
mhm.
I don't know why, but that's just. That's what my brain assigned to her.
T says the call went out, but people couldn't be self-sufficient, willing for revolt, bloodlust.
No.
Yeah. I guess we kind of skipped over the part. I guess in the story, it's like not a focus how they all get together and make that
Yeah.
decision.
Hmm.
But it was something that I was wondering about. I guess also like we're mostly in Sully's perspective. I don't imagine that Sully cares too much about what other people are doing.
No. No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, but it's interesting to think about how they
Mm.
actually put it together
Hmm.
and got everyone on board with it.
Yeah.
So that was all the questions I had for today. Was there any last thing people want to discuss before we sign off?
Hmm.
Oh, hey Bree.
Free. I just want to circle back for 1 millisecond about Sully killing herself because she felt very much like she couldn't be satisfied with what, like she wasn't satisfied with having killed her oppressor. She wasn't satisfied with having gotten the town taken care of and the little homestead they made. And so she was just like, okay, nobody should. Did she feel like people could use her womb, or she just didn't want it to be used anymore, and that's why she cut it out?
I thought it was she did it because she's like maybe they can do something with this.
Okay, okay, yeah. I just to think that she felt so bad and unsatisfied after all of that is kind of sad to think about. Like T
Mm,
said earlier, I think that's sad. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Like I just thought that whole scene where she went all the way was powerful.
yeah, I think it's also interesting now that we're like talking specifically about that because I double checked and like yeah, it says when she died, at least others might be able to use the ether world that made her uterus into a portal. Um,
Okay.
I guess how little her estimation of herself has changed since slavery. Like as
Mm.
a enslaved girl who probably would have been like she probably would have been bred at 15. Like she would
Mhm.
have been seen if there had been other slaves on the plantation, she probably would have been seen as a way to like increase the like basically the workforce of the people who owned her. And she probably
Mhm.
would have just been seen like just uterus. And when she dies, she's like, maybe this is something you could do something with. And she takes it out. It's
Mm.
kind of sad.
Yeah, that's real
And she
sad.
thinks that I guess
She
that's
did
all her
for
impact,
it.
that's all it's worth of her.
Mm. Yeah. But yeah, this is a. I'm gonna say it. This is the third time, so this is a charm. This is like nothing I've ever read. So if you haven't read it, go back and read it. It's only like 20, 24 pages, depending on what device you're reading on. And it's cheap, 99 cents or $1, probably somewhere free. Chloe probably can tell you where
Yeah,
to
I
go.
think it should be in the description box. It's on tor.com for free. But yeah, if you
There you
prefer
go.
like an e-reader, you can buy a
Yeah,
copy.
yeah, yeah. Check it out, and especially if you haven't read anything else by Rivers, I think it's a good taste test.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. Thank you, T, Bree, Vina, Shay, Pat, Emma Ray. Thanks so much, everybody. Montgomery. It's nice to be
Yeah,
back doing lives. Um, yeah, I need
yeah, we
to.
missed you.
It's nice to be back doing lives and talking with you all. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for coming out, everybody. Thanks again, Deidre.
yeah, of
Um,
course.
bye.